Welcome to Momentum in Real Estate, your guide to success in the dynamic world of real estate. I'm Cory Wolf.
And I'm Kristin James. Whether you're just starting out or a seasoned pro, we're here to help you reach new heights.
Success in real estate comes from learning, growing, and serving others.
Join us as we dive into strategies for lead generation, marketing, market trends, and client relationships.
Get ready to ignite your momentum and achieve your goals in real estate.
Let's dive in and unlock your full potential.
This is Momentum in Real Estate.
So meet Denise Edmondson, Principal Broker and Director of Sales at PowerPlay Destination Properties. With 15 plus years in Texas real estate, Denise is a luxury expert who's redefining how second homes are marketed. She blends sharp strategy with place-driven storytelling to create lifestyles buyers truly love, all with a commitment to authenticity and excellence. Welcome to the podcast, Denise.
Hello, thank you for having me.
So, Denise, thank you for being here. Tell us a little bit about your real estate story in your own words.
Sure. So my real estate story started back in 2005. I was a young mom. I just had my daughter. She was born in 2004 and was really kind of deciding what to do from there. I wanted flexibility. We all laugh. We get into real estate for flexibility, right? And quite the opposite. But yeah, so I wanted something that, I was passionate about. I've always loved real estate. Wanted something flexibility wise, I'm not a desk 9 to 5 type of person. So something to kind of just keep me entertained and make some money and be able to spend time with my daughter. And so I dove into real estate and got my first position with a team at Remax in Frisco. And then from there, found my way to Playground Destination Properties, which is not the company that I'm with now, but most of the partners and a lot of the people that work with us now came from Playground. And Playground was an InterWest company, and InterWest did ski in, ski out resorts. They were really big in Canada, Whistler area, and Playground was the urban portion of their portfolio. And so that was in Dallas and started with Museum Tower. And that was 2008. And quickly things came crashing down in 2008. And my partners, I have two partners, they started the company and they, as they say, took a long walk on the beach and said, when there's turmoil in the market, it's the biggest opportunity creator. And so we decided to start PowerPlay Destination Properties. And I've been with them from the very beginning. 2009 was our first year. And we've done projects all over, mainly in North America, but all over the United States, Utah, California, Hawaii, Texas, New York. And really, we specialize in second homes and luxury branded residences. And so started with them, grew from sales director to principal broker to now partner. And here we are 16 years later. And yeah, we're doing our best year yet and living our best life. So that's my story in a very short, condensed version.
That's amazing. So are you principally in the development side of the work, or is it, brand new properties or existing properties? Give us kind of the texture of what the business looks like.
Good question. So we at PowerPlay focus mainly developers are our clients. So we're not commercial, we sell residential, but we're not your typical firm where we go after resells and we have, a lot of agents, et cetera. So it's a very tight team. We have about 10 on our team, and we work exclusively with developers on branded resorts or master planned communities.
Got it. That's sort of what I was piecing together.
Yeah.
So this whole concept of I think the phrase is place-driven storytelling. Unpack that a bit for us. I'm really fascinated by that concept as you're sort of redefining luxury real estate in your world.
Yeah. So at PowerPlay, storytelling isn't really a tactic for us, it's a strategy. It's how we spark momentum and build emotional connection before there's really a model home or a finished road or a product, a tangible product to show. So we've seen this work time and time again from the Texas coast to Hudson Valley. But what we do is it's really a market forced sales approach. So building demand through education, immersion, and kind of insider positioning. So that by the time that we formally release, we're not selling, where, if you will, matchmaking. I like to think of our job as matchmakers. And that's the difference between us. So what I mean by that is our goal isn't to scramble, for sales once we release a property. It's having already built up so much emotional connection and education and anticipation that the buyers are essentially pre-qualified, not just financially, but philosophically, if you will. So through our market for sales approach, we spend months prior to releasing to shaping perception, building insider interest, and really telling the story of the place and the depth and the intention. So, through that, we offer curated previews, behind the scenes development, updates, site visits, even access to our visionaries, to our architects behind the project. But really, that does a lot of the heavy lifting. But, what we see is buyers want to be emotionally connected. They care about the size and the specs and the square footage, but they want to know what the story is. So we really lean into the vision and emotionally committing the idea of living there before we have a model home to walk through.
Well, tell us a little bit about that process of like the emotional driven process. Like, I'm sure you have tools and things that you use to kind of find the avatar for the house and then how to, then take that through the process. Can you share with us a little bit about
Yeah, sure. So we look at it as guiding a buyer through the process. So we're guiding them through the discerning selection process and, kind of like I said, matchmaking them to the right home. So how we do that is a lot of people, you have to be committed to a project like what we do when we bring it to market. There is a good 8 months to a year of buildup. And that's even before we usually get a listing 2 years before we go to market. And so the first part of that year is spent on really the mix, the programming, the logistics, what that looks like, the zoning, the permitting, all of that, to make sure that we're at a place where, okay, we can start telling the story and we know our timeline. So going into it, there's really about 8 months as we prefer as lead up time. And so what that is, all about it's preparing our storytelling. So we bring in our sales team usually about 6 months before, but they really immerse themselves into each project because our project isn't our hometown. These are destination properties that we sell. And so we really need to get to know what's rooted in the culture there, in the place that this story is evolving, that we're curating this story to buyers, building the trust, getting to know the community. And then we start dripping out our information as a lead up to our selection event. With brands, you spend this whole like 8 to 6 months like an onion, if you will, peeling back the layer. It's a story. So it's a chapter book. So you don't flip to the end of the chapter where the pricing and the specs are, that's the micro end of it, the details. You start by the first chapter, which is the vision. And so you tell the story through the buyer's lens and what you think that what really resonates with them. And then you peel back that layer and you drip the information out. And by 3 months before your selection event, then you're really getting into the product details. And so we like to sell macro to micro. So you start with a vision and then you end with the product, and then you have your selection event.
Wow. So tell us, obviously we're in kind of clearly post-pandemic
Mhm.
time. What have you seen as shifts in like affluent buyers who, are investing in luxury second homes? What are you seeing in their preferences and their lifestyle demands or expectations?
Sure. So today's luxury buyers want more than beauty. They're looking for belonging, if you will. They want a home that mirrors their values. So what we see a lot is sustainability, wellness, legacy, and intentional design is what really resonates with our ultra high net worth buyers. Um, and that's why we've really shifted from a transactional model to what we call hyper absorption model. And that's about fostering trust and an emotional commitment before traditional inventory even begins, like we were talking about, like that the vision, it's a relationship building sell is really what we are into. So for example, at Maria on the Texas coast, we educated buyers on the stewardship, the marine preservation, and the turnkey ease. And that's the part of the education that I'm talking about, is really getting in and really diving into, okay, what is this project all about at the root of it? What are its key pillars? And then, at One and Only, which is really the pinnacle of brands. I don't know if you guys are familiar with One and Only. If there could be a 6-star, they would be 6-star. They're like an Amman, an Auberge. Again, they resonate really well for us because they are all about the experience, the storytelling. It goes far beyond the brand and the detail at a high level. It goes into like when people walk by, when their staff walks by, they put their hand over their heart to show you just like their intention, and really they're one of the best brands out there, and they dive into the story. So they're really the pinnacle, aligning with a globally recognized brand that gives buyers a 6-star lens into what their second home could really feel like. And buyers aren't just choosing properties anymore, they're choosing purpose, is what we see.
Oh my goodness, I love it. So, can we dig a little bit into second homes? Like, I'm sure that is a lot of what your buyers are seeing, right? Or wanting to
Mhm,
look
mhm.
for. So explain to us a little bit about that shift and maybe when that's happened or how that's happened.
Sure. I mean, second homes have always been the American dream, right? Like you have your primary and then you get to a certain point in life, and the secondary home becomes kind of really that goal that you set your mind to. Like we've really made it when we have our second home. But I feel like a huge part of that is the post-pandemic, during pandemic, really. I mean, that really shifted everyone from just a second home to a lifestyle. And like we were talking about, a home with a purpose. A lot of that is, diving into what are those key buyers' incentives. And like we talked about, privacy is a huge one that we're seeing. Wellness is all the rage right now. Nature, a very big connection. Legacy, a legacy property. Really, right now, we're seeing the biggest generational wealth transfer that we've ever seen with the baby boomers and millennials. And, millennials, us in our 40s, and, we're all about experiences. And so that is really where that shift has come from, is not only are we seeing the biggest generational wealth transfer, but the wealth it's transferring to that generation that wants experiences that really heavily resonates with them, is a curated, crafted, intentional, purpose-driven experience and lifestyle.
So talk to us. I'm really curious about like the marketing element. Like
Mhm.
how do you choose like your marketing strategy and your channels? Like obviously there's I'm sure tons of data that you dive into to assess like who are these ultra high net worth individuals that are going to be like your target market for these properties. Give us sort of the layers of what your marketing looks like and how is it different from kind of traditional marketing in traditional real estate.
Sure. So you have to have your traditional marketing, and we always partner with a media buyer who's, well connected, and that to us makes the biggest difference. So you always have your media buy or ad spend that you just have to have. But for us to connect with our ultra high net worth buyers, it's really depth over breadth, really depth over value. So this audience doesn't respond well to mass marketing. They respond well to meaning. So we spend the time to truly understand their ethos, what they value, and we position each project as a reflection of that as much as we can. We also create controlled elevated engagement points. So think private dinners, curated on-site experiences, connector networks through groups like Realm, which we're a part of. And with the brands, they have brand loyalists. So that is a huge part and why it's, so nice to work with these 5 and 6-star brands, is they have a very loyal following. So you dive into that. But most importantly, we don't flood the market, we guide it, is what we like to say. And that's really what builds sustained desire, creates early momentum, and ultimately allows us to achieve the hyper absorption that we're looking for in this competitive environment. We could put 50 listings out there, but that doesn't resonate with this buyer. They want to be brought in, if you will. Like they want to feel like they're being brought into the project, not sold the project or the lifestyle. And so that's really what we focus on is our networks, our connectors, educating our connectors. So then those connectors bring our pitch, our project to their people. And it's really more of a relationship. It's all about a relationship selling at this level. And so that's what we focus on.
And are your connectors kind of like an ISA in the real estate world? Like help us understand who's building, who's on the phone talking to these people trying to build on that.
We are. So our sales teams, so our on-site sales teams are dialing for dollars, if you will, but also, we bring from project to project. Those family managers, family offices are big for us, wealth managers. We have our preferred finance lenders as well, who carry a lot of weight in that realm. And then our networks like Realm. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Realm, but there's a lot of groups out there like that. But really, it's all about connectors, networking, and being that trusted advisor. So yes, we do traditional advertising. You have to be out there, but for us, it's really, picking up the phone and having that conversation.
You mentioned that kind of early on. And so you don't live in all of these markets that you're working in. So is your company like managing projects in multiple locations at any given time? I'd love to know more about like your specific role. Like what is your kind of day to day or week to week look like with regard to these projects?
Well, not one day is exactly the same, but that's the fun of it, right? So my role specifically, I can wear a lot of different hats as we all do in small business, entrepreneur business. But anyways, so I basically go around and I'm our launch specialist, if you will. So we have projects, we need an on-site team to get there, immerse themselves. It's a hard job, but someone has to do it. Go to all the restaurants, go to all the things to do. We create a visitor's guide everywhere we go. And so I'm there to really get our sales team focused, up and running, immersed into the community, having all the right sales tools that they need to make themselves successful. And so that usually takes anywhere from 8 months to a year before we even really start on the ground sales. And by the time that comes up, my little chick hatches and we go into either launch or tempo sales. And then I move on to my next project and do the same thing all over again. So a daily and a weekly to me, it's a lot more now behind the scenes. And like I mentioned, making sure that our sales teams have the right tools that they need to be successful, more so than directly selling to buyers. That shifted about 3 years ago, but that's what I love the most too, is being connected with the buyers and directly being there answering questions. But yeah, over time it's kind of shifted to our sales teams are my babies, and that's who I make sure they're good and supported and have everything that they need. And so it's managing right now 3 different sales teams across different projects. And then, like I mentioned, we have 2 other partners. And so we try to keep it 2 to 3 projects per partner, because we've all been a part of a larger corporate type setting where you don't even know what project is what or who's on which project. And we want that intimate feeling, that boutique feeling to always be around. So we've capped ourselves at 2 to 3 per partner.
Sounds like so much fun to go just try all these restaurants
Right?
and try all the places. But I love the concept of spending 8 to 12 months or more. You mentioned 2 years for these luxury homes that are going on the market because of you're gathering buyers. It's fantastic. It's awesome. I love
Thank
it.
you.
I know we have to wrap up. So Kristin, do you have any last questions?
Yeah, it's sort of, I feel like it's a silly question, but just because this is sort of for Cory and myself, this is like more of a different world than the residential real estate that we function in. But you talk about kind of the like one of the culminating events is like the selection event. Unpack that for us. Like, what does that mean? Is that when like you've got ready buyers who are like, I want this unit or I want this house or I want like what unpack the selection, process for us.
Sure. So it's a choreographed dance. um, the best way to kind of visually describe this is if you're sports fans, think of the NFL draft, if you will. There's a war room, which is our conference room. And through those, 6 to 8 months, sometimes a year, depends on build up, is where we're crafting and curating our draft board, if you will. So these buyers, like I mentioned, we're playing matchmaker. So we get to know these buyers through our relationship building. We know what view they're looking for. We know what, bedroom setup, generally speaking, what they want, what their hot buttons are. And then we have our site plan and we know what's available. So selection day is all about figuring out how much demand we have for each product type, what specific unit is going to fit best for 1 to 2 buyers, where we can move those people around and make sure that the full mix is being spread evenly, that we don't have one kind of buildup of 3 bedrooms. The 3 bedrooms are in most demand. Well, we're going to move those prices up then and kind of spread out the other buyers to make, a value proposition maybe somewhere else look a little bit better than the 3 bedroom. So it's all a numbers game. It's all moving the pieces around to make them fit. But essentially, on selection day, you're going to have an order of when the buyers select their home, and that is predetermined by when they put in their expression of interest, which is usually about a month prior to selection event. And then you'll have a series of Zoom meetings scheduled about 6 to 8 months. I mean, not 6 to 8 months, 6 to 8 minutes per selection. They pretty much know what they're selecting when they go in there because we've done a lot of back and forth with them. And then you go through the whole day. The goal is to sell, at least 50%. The goal is to sell all 50 or however many you have, but a win for us is 50%. And then after that, we go into tempo sales, which is just your standard day-to-day operating normal sales space. But for example, 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago now, our Costa Rica project, the Ritz Reserve, we had a very successful selection event and sold, it was 85% of the product. So all in, it was about 425 million that we sold in one day. And that's worked a couple other projects as well. So a couple of key factors for selection events: brand. You have to have a brand to make this work because it's the trust, it's the elevated lifestyle, it's the following that they bring. So to have a successful selection event, you really need a brand like a Ritz Reserve, like a one and only. And then to coordination. Takes a very timed event that you have to run through several weeks in advance, but it works. And we've done it successfully 3 times now. And we're hoping for a fourth with one and only Hudson Valley in November.
That's incredible. I feel like we just went through like a like a little primer on like a whole different element of real estate, which I think will be
Yeah.
really interesting to our audience. We try to present just a wide variety of experts in different kind of corners and pockets of this real estate enterprise that we operate in. So this has been really like mind blowing for me to just sort of like wrap my mind around just a very different sort of lane
Yeah. It's
of
very
residential real
niche,
estate.
that's for
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely.
But we love it. And it's a really interesting pocket of our little real estate world that we live in. But
Totally. And it
um,
seems like you enjoy it and it's
we
really
do.
life-giving for you. So that's amazing and really encouraging to see too. So,
Yeah.
Yay, thank
For your listeners, I
you.
mean,
yeah.
check us out, powerplaydestinationproperties.com. We have our portfolio on there. And then you've heard me drop a few times. One and Only Hudson Valley is a brand new project that we're launching this November. It is the second one and only to the United States and the very first Clinique La Prairie longevity hub, which will be operating our spa to the United States. So lots of groundbreaking news coming through through the one and only Hudson Valley, and we're excited to bring it to market this fall.
That's amazing. Yeah, really, really incredible. And just so you know, our team that does the editing, like we'll create some, marketing pieces that you can use
Perfect.
to
Thank
promote
you.
the podcast and your appearance on it as you wish. That usually comes in a couple of weeks after the episode ends. So, and we'll be sure to promote the links that you've given us and things that our audience can explore further.
Thank you. Hopefully I didn't sound too silly. I hate the way my voice sounds. So, I'm sure we
Stop.
all do. We're
Yeah,
our
no, because
biggest
it doesn't,
critics, right?
yeah, it does not sound the same. Well, thank you, Denise, for your time. We so appreciate it. And thanks for coming on.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Of course. Okay,
Thank you,
thank
ladies.
you. Have a
Awesome.
great
Have a great
day.
week.
Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Momentum in Real Estate. We hope you found valuable insights and strategies to propel your real estate journey forward.
If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe to our podcast and leave us a review. Your feedback helps us continue to deliver content that resonates with you. Remember, success in real estate is about continuous learning, growth, and serving others. Keep that momentum going and watch your business thrive.
Until next time, keep pushing forward and bringing your real estate dreams to life.
This is Cory Wall.
And Kristin James signing off from Momentum in Real Estate.